What's up, guys? On today's episode of I'm Not Paying a Mechanic to Do This, we're working on the Ford F-150. We just did the last video, was replacing the brake hose here. Symptoms were that it was sticking. Um, so the pistons weren't retrieving too well back into the caliper. So we replaced the hose. That whole video is on the channel. This one's going to be about the axle. CV joint here on the front is we're getting a weird noise on their load. Sometimes this pickup trucks will do that when you have bad spark plugs or when your coils are going bad. In this instance, I believe because my coils and my spark plugs are relatively new, I believe that is going to be the problem. Is this boot here ended up getting I don't know if it got hit by something, but there is a little pinch hole right in that area. I saw it the other day when I cleaned it, so I think that's dry pretty much. Dried out the inside of the axle, and now becomes that problem. It's has emerged. In order to do this job, you're gonna need to get a 12-point socket to get those bolts there. 1, 2, 3. I think there's 6 of them. It's rather hard to get to them and put good pressure on them because unless you're under, you got a lift. I'm working on jack stands and a car jack, a hydraulic. So if you turn your wheel to the right, you'll be able to access it from this area. What I did is I used a crowbar to lock up the wheel here, the hub. My neighbor was kind enough, came by. He was a mechanic. He was like, "Hey, if you put the bolts on there, you don't risk the bar won't come out, and you can also rest it in a way where you don't mess up your threads." So we did that. Hit it with the impact with 2, 3 extensions and a swivel. One of them worked. The rest of them, I actually went to two extensions, or no, 1 extension and a converter from a half to a quarter, and got from this area here with my gun. It'll be difficult to get without an impact. So if you're going to do it by hand, you're going to have to be underneath here with the wrench kind of going from the bottom up from that hole. What I have to do now is we're going to have to remove this bolt here from the knuckle to get that knuckle out to get the outer tie rod free. And then I also believe that I have to definitely take this down from the upper control arm. I don't recall, I might look at a different video that I made when I had to get that axle out of there to get to this, because I replaced that control arm once before. I don't remember what, I think it was a ball joint that was pretty bad. It was giving me issues. That's on the channel. There's 1 nut in here. You take some pliers, take that cap off, and then you're able to slide. So once you take all your 6 bolts out of there, you're able to kind of like pull. You're gonna pull your axle this way by the space that you create with this when it falls out, and you're gonna go right out down that hole, and the same process will come back up. So we're gonna remove. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards taking this bolt off and leaning the knuckle this way, but then we got this hose here. We can't go too far. I might have to turn to the right to get all of this to get over this way, and then be able to put some slack on here so I don't break the hose. That'll suck if I broke that hose that's brand new. So let me see what I come up with, and we'll be back in a second. There obviously are going to be different approaches to how you do things. My preferred method to do this, now that I'm looking at it again, is I like to I'd rather take the caliper off, so that way I don't have to worry about this hoses getting tangled up and messed up. I got me a bucket, set it on there. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Get these cables out of the way. We're gonna take this out real quick by using pliers. Just be careful because they get crushed real easy and will bend out of shape. So get that out. Once I get my pliers to fit. Give me 1 second. All right, so get your channel locks in there, whichever pliers. I believe that's a 13 millimeter. Maybe not, that's a 12, I think. Nut to get that off. We're gonna loosen that up, and then we know that once we get that taken, this one off, as soon as we have enough room to go back here and get this nuts off, this bolts off, then we'll be able to get that out. Okay, so we have all of our 6 bolts taken out. Got this is actually a 13 millimeter taken out. I'll put the nut back on there because I'm gonna hit it a couple times with a hammer, loosen it up. I don't want to damage the threads, which it doesn't matter. But if you're doing work where you don't want the threads messed up because you're gonna put the axle back, protect the bolt. I'm actually going to try and see if I can accomplish getting that all the way off without having to take more stuff off. So we'll see if that works. If it doesn't work, amen, but I'm gonna give it a shot, and I'll let you know if it works or not. I'm sorry I don't have a stand right now to put my phone on, and I don't have anywhere where I can prop it and show what I'm doing, but at least I can give you tips on how things are working. So let's try that and see if we can work that off of there and slide it down, and hopefully it enables us to get that out without having to mess with a lot of stuff. All right, so my thoughts didn't work because my idea, rather, the shocks is on the way. I'm not gonna be able to push to the front of the vehicle as much as I wanted to. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this from here. That's a 21 millimeter deep socket to get the rod out of there, and then we have to do the same with the upper control arm to be able to bring the knuckle this way, giving us space to get that out, and then enough play to move in the back so we can, because the transmission, whatever the hell that is right here on the corner on the back with the X on it, that transfer the power to the axle doesn't give us enough space to be able to get through. So 21 millimeter, I think that's a 22 if I don't mistake, and then you know the trick of hitting the knuckle to release that, and then I'm gonna put some penetrating oil in there too and do the same to get that to release. You just bang on it right here to be able to get that out and slide down. All right, that's out. I loosen it up, lift the nut like halfway up, put a little bit of penetrating oil in there, beat it with the hammer. It got loose. I don't think that's gonna give us enough yet to be able to get our axle to where we want it to go. So let's go here, push this out a little. Yeah, not enough room yet. So we're gonna have to take this guy down to be able to bring this forward or towards the outside of the car. All right, that is a 22. You can see, beat that guy, bring that down. There's a washer in there. Now I'm gonna put some penetrating oil in there and then hit it with the hammer, get that to pop up. All right, that was about 5 or 6 bangs. You can see the guy is out. Now all we have to do is just be careful with the knuckle, that it doesn't fall way too far on you and you break a hose. So again, I'm working with one hand, a little difficult, but what you want to do is take this out and let that knuckle come toward. All right, this is what you got. It's done. Now that allows the knuckle to fall forward and you can slide your axle out. All right, only thing that's left to do here is to release that axle by knocking it over a little bit. You don't have to take the four-wheel drive engager. IWD or IDW, one of the two is what it's called. This one here, I had to replace this one on this truck a while back, but you don't have to take that out. Just hit it with the hammer until it releases out the other side, and then you got to take that nut out and just be able to wiggle it out. You're going to angle it down and it's going to go out towards the front of the vehicle. All right, that's what it looks like now. recommend when you put the new one in, maybe put a little bit of grease on those gears so when you go back in there, it doesn't have any issues. Don't have a flashlight to show in there, but there's some splines that they match up in. Just make sure you get that where it belongs. And now I have space over there to push that out the front, underneath the. All right, there she is, all the one out. We're gonna go get the new one, make sure everything matches up, and here I'll show you where. So I had that little there's a little hole in there that's letting all that grease to come out. That's what that looks like in there. Don't forget, like I said, put some grease in there before you put them in. Right, let's go get the new one. Here's the new part. Got the new nut on there. Everything matches up. And this is what it looks like over here. New boot, ready to go in. All right, so we have to go this end first. It's gonna come through this hole right here below the inner tie rod, come out, and then you need to get enough of the this portion here has to come up enough to slide through there, and then you're able to hook it up to where you need to. Just to me it looks like a little shorter on the arm, so let's just measure it, make sure everything lines up. Yep, matches up, so we're ready to good to go in. You have to give it a little tug and pull to be able to get past that boot for the inner tie rod, but that's where she sits. Now you just gotta line everything up, grease this spline, match it up, and you're good to go. I think I'm not sure what would be the best way. I think maybe going at this part first and putting your screws there, just starting by hand, and then you can bring this end on this side. All right, so I'll put grease on there, and I'll put a little bit of grease in here just to get that re-greased, since last time we did it again. So now we're ready to go. We're gonna put this end actually first, and then slide the other end second. Then we'll put the nut on this side to secure it, and then we'll deal with getting that lined up and ready to go in the back. All right, axle is through. We're gonna put the nut out here just to secure in place. Not tightening it yet, and now we're gonna go try to get that lined up. In order to do that, we're gonna have to get this knuckle back up here to give us some support, and then be able to, once we have the knuckle on the upper control arm, then we can match this up in the back and start getting at least one or two screws maybe on the opposite side so we can move along. Okay, so now we got the upper ball joint started, lower side for the tie rod is started, and all we're gonna do is just tighten that up and get it nice and tight here. All right, so we got that started. That's gonna be 85 pounds, and then this one's gonna be 111. So the upper control arm nut, 85 pounds, the outer tie rod, 111 pounds torque. Okay, that's tight to 85 foot-pounds, 111 foot-pounds. You can lift this up if you find yourself spinning the bolt, and if anything, you can also put a wrench, an Allen wrench up there on the top if it's spinning, but you have to do it by hand at that point, or actually that takes like a 10 or some millimeter. You can make it tight, and then it won't spin on you anymore. All we have to do is just tighten everything back up, put our caliper back, and we're all done. Just make sure you tighten this properly here, check everything, double check everything, and put your wheel back on. The bolts that go to the back here on the 6 bolts from that go towards the middle of the car, they're 60 foot-pounds. Then make sure that your splines start catching in by turning your rotor, and you can see that turns the axle, and that lets you know that you're in the right place. All right, the outside nut for the axle is going to be 20 foot-pounds, and we have that one installed. And now the only thing we got left is to put the rest of the bolts back there, put the caliper back, and we are finished. So we're gonna get moving here, get those tightened up. Remember, you just got to turn your wheel back and forth. I think I did it by turning the wheel to the left all the way to be able to get on the rear side of the suspension to get that tightened up. I'm going to do it the same way, doing on a cross pattern. So if you do this one here, then you turn it all the way to the other side so you can get the one underneath on the other side there.